I'm Georgina, and welcome to the Darling YouTube channel, a place where we discuss occultism, mysticism, magic, religion, and all sorts of other amazing things. And in this video, we're going to be talking all about Thelema and how to begin a thelemic path, what Thelema looks like, and what practices are associated with the tradition, as well as a little bit of history. And this is part of my Occult 101 series, where every other week I take a new tradition, paradigm, pantheon, etc., and break it down so that people who are getting into the occult can see the vast amount of traditions, paths, and ways to go about this. Because I think when you're really new to the occult community and the occult scene, you see a lot of the same. You see a lot of Wicca, you see a lot of New Age, you see a lot of American folk magic. But there's so much more out there, and I think that kind of a survey of all these really complex and wide topics is something that YouTube could appreciate. And as someone who's been practicing for about 5 years, I thought I would kind of help YouTube discover this and help people learn about the amazing world that is Western esotericism. So I decided to start with Thelema because Thelema is a practice and paradigm that really influences me and is very involved with my practice. So, okay, let's start at the beginning. What is Thelema? By definition, the word Thelema is the Greek word for will, and the numerology of the word Thelema adds up to the number 93, which is a common number associated with Thelema, and is actually used as a greeting. It's like a little insider thing. Like you go 93, and then they say 93 back, and you're like, ha ha ha, you're a thelemite. I see you, I know what you're up to. It's actually quite cute. And Thelema is somewhat encapsulated by this quote that Aleister Crowley channeled in 1904 that reads, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, love is the law, love under will." Hearing that, it kind of sounds like it's saying do whatever you want, like go be a hedonist, do anything, screw limitations, and while Thelema is very anti-restriction, this quote is actually referring to a concept called true will. And when we say will in Thelema, we don't mean I want to drink another soda because I'm thirsty and I know that soda tastes better than water. It actually means true will. True will is this very big concept, and true will looks different for every person. Your true will is essentially it comes from the core of your humanity, the core of who you are, the crux of yourself. It's what you desire to get your life on track, to make yourself feel fulfilled, to make yourself feel like you've really found your soul, essentially. Your true will tends to be something big, and in Thelema, there's a big thing that what every action you do all the time should be aligned with your true will and what you're really chasing. And so that actually is a little restricting, interestingly. It's not do whatever you want, it's do whatever you want that aligns with this thing. So it's actually a pretty intensive way to live your life and something that people think about a lot. If you're living a very thelemite lifestyle, then you're thinking constantly, okay, well, why am I doing this? Am I doing this because it fits with my true will, or am I doing this because I want to? In fact, a common thelemic practice is before meals, saying a little thing that they call will, where you say, I'm eating because I want to nourish my body so that I can do my true will and be part of the great work. And the great work is a thing you see all across modern occultism, especially more like Hermetic, Rosicrucian, Masonic traditions, when the great work is essentially the act of mysticism and the act of attainment, finding enlightenment, chasing your true potential, and trying to achieve as much as possible. So, how do we find our true will, and how do we achieve our true will? A big way that thelemites find their true will and achieve their true will is through what is called the Holy Guardian Angel. The Holy Guardian Angel concept is a critical thing in Thelema, and getting contact with your Holy Guardian Angel is one of the most essential tasks that people do when they're on a thelemic path. The Holy Guardian Angel is not like the New Age concept of the fluffy guardian angel that is watching over you, but rather is a way for you to connect with the higher realms, with the supernal world, with the worlds that are beyond where we are. It's your gateway to what is beyond reality, and thelemites spend their life chasing the Holy Guardian Angel, and making contact with the HGA is one of the most essential tasks in a thelemite's life. Some people theorize that the HGA is even just a part of yourself that is slightly detached, or your higher self, or your perfected self. There are quite some theories on how this works, and a lot of this HGA concept ties back to the daemon, the guiding spirit that everyone had to help them discover their true potential. A big way that people connect with their HGA is through magic. When we talk about magic in Thelema, we're not talking about like breathing fire, being an airbender, or anything that theatrical. Also, magic in Thelema is spelled with a K rather than a C to differentiate from stage magic. Crowley, one of the early Thelemites, really couldn't stand that his work was being confused with magic tricks, so he added a K spelling. A lot of the magic you see in Thelema is very ceremonial and very reminiscent of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. It was an initiatory secret society through the Victorian era, and it kind of fell apart as time went on. There are currently revivalist groups, but they're not exactly what the Golden Dawn once was. And that is a whole can of worms. I could make like videos on revivalist groups and occult revivalism and these groups that are kind of acting as lineages to orders that don't really exist. But I don't really want to talk about orders in this video. I think that Thelema doesn't need that. I think that Thelema is something that's a very personal path and is very individualistic. And I think one of the big draws of Thelema is the individualism. But back to magic. The magic in Thelema is very much derived from Kabbalah, which is a system of Jewish mysticism that later influenced Christian mysticism, Hermeticism, alchemy, Gnosticism, and pretty much every esoteric path that came after it. And when we see Kabbalah in Thelema, it's largely correspondences to the Tree of Life and the worlds of Kabbalah. A big thing in the Thelemic interpretation of Kabbalah is this idea that the Sephirot of Dot needs to be crossed to achieve the supernal triad, and Dot is defined as the abyss. So a big act in Thelema that people also do is called crossing the abyss, where you essentially die and get reborn into the supernal triad and born as an ascended person. Crossing the abyss is something people do pretty late in life. It's very intensive, and to cross the abyss, you need to have made contact with your holy guardian angel prior to doing it. Crossing the abyss is extremely difficult, and a lot of people fail. So other types of magic you see in Thelema, you see tarot is a huge thing. Tarot is very valuable in Thelema. Learning the tarot is highly important. The common deck that people in Thelema use is the Thoth deck. The Thoth deck is a little different from the Rider-Waite because it syncretizes some more things into it, specifically the I Ching, making a lot more correspondences than what the original Rider-Waite deck had. Another thing that you see in Thelema is there's a big influence on ceremonial magic. Some common rituals would be the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, the star ruby, the star sapphire, reguli, and a lot more. Initiations are a thing in Thelema, but they're not required to be a Thelemite. That's a path for some people and not for all. You don't have to initiate, you don't have to join groups. If you want to, you can, and there's a variety of Thelemic groups. There is also an incorporation of some Eastern traditions, including Tantra and Pranayama Yoga, as well as meditation. Any occult path is going to have meditation in it. Meditation is kind of the basis of all of this work, because to be able to control what is outside of you, you must control what's inside. So meditation is going to come up a lot, and I think there's a wide variety of meditation methods used by Thelemites, and you can use any of those that you will. In terms of spirits, deities, gods, etc., there's a wide variety of things to choose from. Thelema is a very late religion. It wasn't a thing until the 1900s, meaning that there's heavy syncretism. There's a lot of Sumerian and Middle Eastern gods, Kemetic gods from Egypt, as well as Abrahamic ones, specifically spirits from Revelations. Thelemites that I've met personally actually can work with a whole variety of things. You're not limited to what is strictly Thelemic in general with Thelema and magic. That's a big thing. You don't have to just do the Star Ruby and Liber Resh and worship Babylon and Rahor-Quit. No, you can do what you want. Some people even see Thelema as a philosophy and not a religion. Thelema is highly open-ended, and Thelema is suggested for people who want to kind of step away from dogma, step away from orthodoxy, step away from worshiping figures and gurus, and into something more personal, more individual, less restricted, and more free. So you can incorporate a wide variety of traditions and elements into Thelema. You don't have to just do thelemic rituals. So while there is kind of a pantheon of deities taken from other paradigms, you can do whatever you want, really. I mean, within reason. Whatever you want is a big thing. Whatever you want, so long as it goes with your true will. You see? Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. In terms of things you should research, if any of this appeals to you and you feel kind of a connection to it, I would begin with researching meditation, and then researching the various thelemic paths and kind of thelemites who have existed. Don't just read Crowley. Don't just read the Book of the Law. There's a lot of more thinkers and figures that are really interesting. A big one right now that I hear people talking about a lot is Kenneth Grant, but you can also look into Austin Osman Spare. There are even some modern thelemic groups coming up. There's some really interesting divine feminine stuff happening right now. There are people who are adding like a more chaos magic flair to it. People who are doing witchcraft in a thelemic style. Like, you're very open-ended, and there aren't a lot of really rules. They're kind of these principal ideas like the Holy Guardian Angel and crossing the abyss, but that's not everything, and Thelema is a living religion. It's not over. It's not like we're worshiping Jesus, right? Some people kind of treat Crowley like Jesus, but this isn't a Crowley-olatry video, okay? That's not what we're doing here. So feel free to mix and match and syncretize so long as you're researched. A big thing in Thelema is correspondence, so always be mindful of the correspondences when you're writing your rituals. Always be mindful of what other things it's referencing, and just kind of do as thou wilt. And if Thelema isn't your will, then don't do it. I just think it's a cornerstone of modern occultism, and kind of defined the modern tarot, defined our understanding of magic, and was highly influential. So, you have been watching the Darling YouTube channel. I hope you have an amazing day, night, or mid-afternoon wherever you are, and do as thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Like, comment, subscribe, and if you're subscribed for exactly 93 days, you will meet your holy guardian angel, and you can't prove me wrong until you've done it.